Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and in today's video we're going to be talking about hair density and hair width. Now, if you watched my previous video on natural hair terminology, I mentioned that I was going to make more in-depth videos on a couple of terms. So hair density and hair width are two of those terms, and there are more going to come. So if you haven't watched that video, please make sure to check it out. I'll have it linked in the description box below and in the card somewhere on the screen. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. Hair density is the amount of hair strands on your head. It is how thick or thin your hairs are collectively. It is important for you to know your hair density because it helps you to know the amount of products to apply on your hair, and equally helps you to know how to better style your hair. That is, what styles will fit you best and how to maximize the amount of hair on your head. There are three levels of hair density. Low density, where your hair is really scanty and your scalp is very visible. Medium density, where your scalp is somewhat visible and your hair is not too scanty. And high density, where your hair is really thick and your scalp is not visible unless the hair is parted into various sections. Now, if you have low density hair, you have to avoid using heavy products like creams, gels and butters because they're going to weigh down your hair strands, making them weak and very vulnerable to breakage. When styling your hair, do them in smaller sections. For example, if you're doing twist outs or braid outs, you should do it in smaller sections so that when you loosen your hair, you're going to have more volume. Also consider using mousse because mousse helps increase the volume of hair. You should equally use volumizing shampoos and conditioners in order to increase your hair volume and make it look fuller. If you have low density hair, you should really stay away from tight, heavy hairstyles like very tight braids and very heavy hairstyles because they're just going to weigh your hair down and make it weaker and very vulnerable to breakage. So even if your hair doesn't break as much when it's in the style, when you take it down, your hair is going to be really weak, and even for the next style it might break. So you should really consider doing styles which are much looser and really light. Moving on to medium density hair. If you have medium density, that means your hair is somewhere in the middle, so you don't need to do too much, but if you want more volume, you should lean a little towards the things I asked or the things I recommended for low density hair. And if you want to sort of weigh down your hair or just reduce the density and make it look scantier, you could do the things I'm going to recommend for high density hair, which is right now. So high density hair is thick. It is really much. It is so voluminous and it is all over the place. So you want to use heavier creams, heavier butters and heavier gels in order to try and clump your hair together to make it look put together. Now, the heavy creams and gels are not going to break high density hair because the collective amount of the voluminous hair is able to withstand the weight of the gels and heavy products if you place them on the hair. You equally want to apply large amounts of products in order to properly coat every strand of hair, because if you don't, some hair is going to be left out and that's not also good. So you want to apply lots of heavy products on your hair in order to put your curls together, in order for the curls to all be coated in the product. When styling, it is advised to do it in bigger sections in order to make it look less compact and less voluminous. But styling still is up to you. If you like it voluminous and massive, by all means go ahead. Regardless of whether your hair is high density or low density, everyone should really stay away from very tight styles which could weaken and damage your hair. But high density hair is more resistant to breakage and more resistant to getting weak because the collective amount of hair strands can withstand some amount of weight and tight braids. So but just really stay away from really tight hairstyles because they could damage your hair. Moving on to hair width, a lot of people often get confused between hair density and hair width. While hair density is the thickness or thinness of the collective amount of hair on your head, hair width is how thick or thin a single strand of hair on your head is. Now, there is no formula to how hair density and hair width could be mixed on your hair. You could have high density hair with very fine strands, whereas you could equally have low density hair with coarse or thick strands. Now, hair width, like I earlier said, is the thickness or thinness of a single strand of hair on your head. It's important for you to know your hair width because your hair width affects your hair's ability to retain length. It tells how much manipulation your hair can handle. There are three levels of hair width. We have coarse, medium, and fine being the thinnest. Fine hair tends to be really small and vulnerable to breakage. It's also very weak, so in order to avoid breakage, use lightweight or liquid products and deep condition every time you wash your hair in order to strengthen your hair strands. Now, because this type of hair is weak, you need to keep manipulation at a low. Do not over manipulate the hair. Avoid heat tools. Heat styling tools like flat irons and hair dryers. You should avoid heat. Avoid high maintenance hairstyles that require you to always touch up your hair. Now, most importantly, avoid tight and heavy hairstyles. I cannot say this enough. Tight and heavy hairstyles are your hair's enemy. Avoid tight and heavy hairstyles because regardless of your hair density or hair texture or hair width, tight and heavy hairstyles will weaken your hair over time. Medium hair widths are not thick or thin, but they are strong and have high elasticity. Now, if you have medium hair width, you should do occasional protein treatments in order to strengthen and build your hair shaft. You will also need to use heavy creams and butters moderately. Coarse hair strands are very tough. They are the strongest of all three and they are equally the widest width. They are not easy to damage and they don't break easily. This makes it very easy for people with coarse hair to maintain length. In order to know your hair width, get a strand of your hair from a comb or a brush, or you could pluck out one from your head if you don't already have any on a comb or a brush. Put that strand of hair close to a light source, and if you can barely see it, then you have fine hair. If the strands are white and very easy to see, you have coarse hair, and if it's somewhere in between, you have medium hair strands. There is no particular hair width that belongs to a particular category of hair density. So in order to know your hair width and hair density, just use the few tests I have shared in this video and apply them to your hair so that you know what hair density and hair width you have. That way you'll be able to know the practices which are best for your hair and adopt them. Thank you so much if you have been watching this video up to this point. I am so grateful. So if you've been watching up to this point and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. If you like, make sure to hit that like button, comment, share, all that good stuff. Okay, so if you have any questions or any thoughts, any remarks, let me know in the comment section and I'm going to react to them as soon as I see them. I have also linked my other videos in the description box below and in the card somewhere on the screen. Do want to watch them. If there were any terms you didn't understand throughout this video, I am sure I have mentioned them in the previous video where I did the natural hair terminology, so make sure to check that out. Okay, bye and see you guys in my next video.